Well, I decided to open up this swale, this bowl in front of the mountain. I think I mentioned before that I kind of had to decide, is it going to be about the mountaintop or is it going to be about, more of the foreground? And I decided I had to put more content in here and bring the interest down a little bit, because it will be about the mountaintop and the mountain range. And it's really its relationship to the foreground. So I had this very large, sort of darkish area, which I painted, scraped off again, and left it for a little while. And now I'm going in to bring down the main ridge further and just indicate a shallower hill here. Also, this is too high from the view that you would see this mountain at. I need to drop this a little bit, this knoll on the side. It's a little too strong. So, and this hill actually, well, continues to come down a bit, so I'll extend that a little. So, just making decisions as we go here. As always, just as with any painting. Okay. And of course, I need to shape that hill. Shaping this hill by painting this one. Yeah, that's okay for color. Couple of strokes of darker stuff here. Okay, and that has a little more light on it, just this last edge of the hill. I don't want to draw too much attention to it, but certainly some. Oops. Okay, now this sliver of hill that's behind this one, I'm going to, I think, let's just try it here. Ultramarine blue and a bit of burnt sienna again. All right. Well, there's kind of an interesting thing that happens here. The end of this range comes down and it kind of curls around a little bit and starts to drop a little bit. So I don't have to paint it as such. Again, I don't have to worry about being too true to its actual form. But if I can, and if it works in the painting, I'll include it. And all it takes is, or all it should take really, is what I'm doing right now. Introduce a bit of these colors up into here. It's looking kind of odd. Yeah, I'm not too fond of that, and it's not necessary. So maybe we'll just not worry too much about that right now. What I will do though is, I think, determine that hill shape, and then I need to yeah, we'll come back down into here now. Okay, that was my ultramarine blue and a bit of burnt sienna. And now I'm going to add just a hint, just a little bit of alizarin crimson to ultramarine blue. And alizarin crimson, because I need to marry, I would like to kind of marry these two. surfaces, you know, this hill to that hill at the bottom. I'd like to show them flowing into each other a little bit, and they become a more distinct ridge as we go up higher in the painting. Okay, well, keeping that fairly vague, I think that's all right. And actually, I may as well do this just to get rid of some confusion as well. We'll have to adjust that sky that we have sitting there. I'm just going to grab a little more raw umber. And I've got lots of white and cobalt blue on my palette still. So we'll just try to get this gray happening again that way. That's a bit bluish, I think. Yeah. Oops. Go a little bit lighter. A little bit too light. A little bit darker. So we get to this point, and am I in frame? Not very well. There we go. I'm going to introduce some cobalt blue here. Just have a look. Have a look-see. That might be a little bit high on the chroma scale. I'll knock it down with a little bit of red sienna. I'll take the value down with more cobalt blue. Okay, I think I can work with that. Yeah. We'll probably bring in a little bit more ultramarine blue as we come down into here in areas. But at the edge of the painting, I just really don't want it to be too bright or too intense. And we're getting a little bit closer with this, with the hill at this point. So I think I'd like to make sure that I have enough of a variety of color here. So try to make sure not to overmix my paints. And also maybe not to have every knife stroke a vertical. The majority, okay, because what you are painting is a mass of trees, you know, essentially a forested hillside. Actually, as we come a little closer, I will go a little lighter. Now obviously, because I have to carve around some tree shapes in the foreground, I definitely cannot keep going with vertical strokes. I'm going to have to just use an omnidirectional approach. And I'm going to start bringing in a little bit of ultramarine blue in places. Just trying to get a feel for the colors that I'm going to be putting in here. Getting closer to the ground. Add a little bit of alizarin crimson into it. Going back sort of into these colors, you know, but a little darker. I know it looks like a patchwork right now, and that is all it is right now. But what I'll do is I'll lay a few more strokes in, then I'm going to take a step back and have a closer look and see if I want to go more in this direction, this cobaltish, or maybe the dominant one will be ultramarine blue. I'm guessing ultramarine blue at this point, but we'll see. So two decisions. I've decided here not to let this go too far away and have it blend up into the side of the mountain, rather just leave it as the indication of a hill that's in the foreground. That helps to push the mountain back a little more. And also to predominantly use ultramarine blue, bit of alizarin crimson, and a little bit, just a little bit of cobalt blue here and there in the foreground behind some of these trees. Not, you know, this sliver of hill is not so distinguishable from the foreground hill. They kind of blend a little bit one to the other. I've decided to leave it at that. Not to get too complicated, because I have all kinds of other complex shapes in the foreground. I thought things would just get too busy if I just kept adding and adding and adding. You know, it's another one of those cases where if one thing looks good, more of the same thing does not necessarily look better. I have a very strong inclination to interrupt this and continue with a bit of a shape that comes down here. I think that what I will do is put in, you know, I still feel like there's a bit of a visual hole here, even, you know, picturing in my mind when this is painted in. I think, I could be wrong, but I think it's going to be a bit weak. I'm very tempted to have the idea in the painting that, you know, there is some low cloud and that's blocking sunlight from catching this mountain here, you know, or this hillside that's in the shade. Light's coming from behind us and to the right, but still maybe catching some trees, you know, and some of that field, because I love those golden grasses, especially when they're in proximity to ultramarine blue. They're very complementary. They can be quite beautiful. And yet I fall into danger of then competing with this, which I've decided now is going to be our main sort of focal point. So rather than jeopardizing competition with this area, I think what I'm going to do is fill in this visual hole with what I hope will be somewhat of an interesting shape. And I'm just going to mix up a little bit of raw umber, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, and draw in some kind of tree here, a small young thing. Something like that. Something about there. You know how when trees are young, they look quite optimistic. They look like they're just ready to grow. I want to get bigger. I'll try to be careful not to. Try to be careful not to have branches on either side of the tree opposing each other. You know, they need to be staggered. They really need that. Or they just don't look natural. I know that in some cases that is natural, but for a painting, I don't think it's that good a look. Okay, so we'll try to work with that. And then there's this other one sitting beside it as well. I may even cut into here a little bit. Just to, because I have, you know, this shape above this shape. Might not be a problem. Or it might be a problem. Let's just see what happens when I reintroduce some dark paint there. Does something like that. Yeah. It's a thought. So about, what would it be? 25 years ago or so? Actually more like 30 years ago. Actually over 30 years ago. The odd time you could, the road from the front of Mount Cheam over the saddle to the backside between Mount Cheim and Lady Peak, you could go through there with a four-wheel drive, which I had done. Also on motorbikes we used to go up there. Beautiful, just an incredible ride. But since then there have been some landslides and that trail no longer exists. Well, actually, if you're quite skilled with a motorcycle, you can get over it. But I don't have the right bike, and frankly, I'm not as skilled as I was at one time. So I won't even try it. But stunning territory behind here. You know, this is Cheim. There's what they call the saddle here, and then this little peak. I think that's what they call Mount Thurston. It's not much of a mountain. It's just sort of the other end of this ridge. So you could travel up sort of like this on a lot of hairpin turns to get up to about here, and then you could traverse a small logging road over to about here, and then you would go over the top just on this side of Thurston Peak, and then you'd go down the other side into the Chilliwack River Valley. Another stunning area. Okay, that's enough stories about me. Well, I know I haven't covered a lot of ground in this video, but the couple of things I really felt needed doing, and I think they're done now, and I'm happy with them. I like the idea of coming down with this mountain like so, and then like a luge run. You know, it brings you around down into here. I want to maintain sort of a curve on the edge of these foreground trees. To repeat that, I didn't want to cut into them because I would end up with this vertical wall again. I really want to get away from that. But I think what I need to do as well, after having put this little tree in, I think I'm going to back this tree up a bit. Yeah, this one might come a little forward yet, but I wanted to leave that opening, you know? That feeling of you come here and then you can, you know, just the visual feeling that you could be walking from here, walk around this tree and sort of disappearing behind it. I like that. Anyway, I'm now going to be doing a bunch of playing around, designing, you know, more accurately some of these tree limbs and beginning to lay a bit of light on there. So I'm going to go play by myself for a while. But I think it's coming. Thanks for watching. See you next week, I guess. Bye.